Access concentration. The transition point from non-jhana to jhana states is called access concentration. You don't find the term access concentration in the early Pali texts, but there is a state just before full concentration, and we use the term access concentration to express that state. Access concentration is compared to the soft, weak muscles of a baby trying to learn to stand on his own feet. The baby's legs are not yet strong enough to stand, so he falls back on the ground. You use the state of access concentration to battle and subdue the hindrances. Applying mindfulness in the state of access concentration allows you to step aside from each hindrance to deep concentration and put it temporarily on hold. Do that often enough over a long enough period and the hindrances go to sleep. They are just mental habits and you have replaced them with the habit of mindfulness. In access concentration, the hindrances are restrained and generosity, loving friendliness, compassion, joy, happiness, and concentration have arisen. Most meditators practice in access concentration for a good while before attaining jhana. Choosing a meditation subject. No single subject of meditation is suitable for every person. The Buddha recommended many different subjects of meditation to many different individuals, according to their needs. He knew that not every person makes progress at the same speed or at the same time. The Buddha has given you full freedom to determine how long you should do sitting meditation, walking meditation, lying down meditation, and standing meditation. In the entire teaching of the Buddha, you can see that he always recognized individual differences and gave instructions according to these differences. He always showed how all these different methods lead to the same goal, attaining full liberation from suffering and entry into the perfect peace and bliss of emancipation. You may wish to seek the guidance of a teacher to arrive at a suitable meditation object for you. Once that person has attained a jhana, no matter what object has been used for attaining it, the jhanic qualities are the same. The same object can also be used for both concentration meditation and insight meditation. For instance, the breath is often used for both. Pali literature mentions 40 common meditation objects. For the sake of convenience, in this book, I usually describe the breath as our object of meditation. Most of what I say about the breath as a meditative phenomenon applies to other subjects too. A useful alternative to focusing on the breath is focusing on what is called a casina. A casina, the word means the entirety, is a physical object used as a meditation focus. Traditionally, these were circles used to represent certain concepts. Many were made of earth with coloring added. A traditional casina was approximately 9 inches in diameter. These objects are seldom used today, but they were a traditional method used at the time of the Buddha. Today, casina means an object that represents a pure concept, the essence of all things with that quality. There are 10 traditional casinas, including colors and the 4 elements. Different people, depending on their particular inclination, use casinas representing water, fire, air, blue, red, white, space, or consciousness. Each casina represents a pure concept, the entire quality of something, the essence. The blue casina represents blueness, the quality that is common to all blue objects, light blue, dark blue, royal, or aquamarine. All the shades of blue are included in this perception of blueness. Each of the casinas represents a basic reaction in the mind. What your mind will do whenever you see anything that has the quality of blueness, yellowness, the liquidity of the water element, or any finite space. You should select one meditation object and stay with it. Don't jump from object to object. Mixing up the object can confuse your mind. Suppose somebody asks you to dig a 100-foot deep hole in the ground to get water. You could dig 10 holes, each 10 feet deep, or 25 holes, each 4 feet deep. You could then say logically that you have dug 100 feet worth of holes. However, you would not get water. You should dig one hole, 100 feet deep. Only then can you get water. Similarly, by trying all the meditation subjects, you could say logically that you have tried all of them, but nothing worked for you. When focusing on a meditation object, your objective is not to become one with the object, and thus become deadened or stupid. Instead, you use these objects to gain a high degree of concentration by expanding each one everywhere, above, below, and across, making it undivided and immeasurable. The whole of your experiential world is filled with the quality that the casina represents. Someone who contemplates deeply upon the earth casina, for instance, fills his or her experiential universe with the quality of solidity. Such a person is said to be able to walk on water because the mind perceives everything everywhere as solid. Nevertheless, the person is not one with or totally absorbed in the casina. He still perceives the external and internal universe. Meditation objects are like launching pads. Once you have gained jhana, everything that follows after that is the same. The concentrated mind is on its own, alone, dependent upon nothing external. Whatever object has been used for abandoning hindrances and gaining concentration is left behind. Imagine a swimming instructor encouraging a child to hold on to a kickboard in a shallow swimming pool. He wants to teach the child to float on the water. When the child is reasonably comfortable kicking in the water, the instructor slowly removes the board. Then the child gradually learns to float without the support of the kickboard. The subject of meditation is like the kickboard. It is used until the skill is built and then abandoned. The entry point. If you have ever tried even a single period of meditation, you already know the initial stage. It is our normal mind. Your focus wanders and wavers. The breath is there for you occasionally, but you keep losing it and you go off into daydreams and memories and imaginary conversations with who knows who. You notice the wandering and you pull yourself back to the focus. You fluctuate, vacillate, and swing back and forth between the breath and who knows what. Distracting thoughts, feelings, and sensations. Your first milestone comes when you detach from the world just a bit. The outer world with its sounds and sensations drifts into the background. They are still there, but they bother you less. Your thoughts are still there too, but they are quieter and they pull you away less often. You hear things, smell things, think things, but that does not disturb you so much. Some peace is present now and then. Your body becomes more and more still. You know you are headed in the right direction. Your mind begins to linger on the breath for short periods. You can feel yourself getting better at pulling it back. This is the place where you usually start to have some real insights about your thought process. These thoughts and sensations really are annoying things. They really are disturbing. It is not a theory. The calm, one-pointed focus is so much nicer. Eventually, even nice thoughts are a bother compared to calm. You start to see the hindrances too. Whether you call them that or not, you notice that certain thoughts and sensations are more jarring than others, and you start learning to let them go, to let the hindrances pass without grabbing onto them. Concentration strengthens. After a period of effort comes a noticeable strengthening of concentration. The mental attributes that will eventually mature into jhana, things like one-pointedness and bliss, become quite noticeable. This is your first major attainment. It is a state on the brink of genuine jhana. It is called access concentration because it is the doorway to the real thing. Concentration is still unsteady, but your mind keeps trying, and it is getting easier. You fluctuate between your calm focus and your inner dialogue. You are still open to your senses. You hear and feel in the normal way, but it is off in the background. The breath is a dominant thought, an object, a thing, but it is not your sole focus. Strong feelings of zest or delight set in. There is happiness, satisfaction, and a special state of non-preference called equanimity. They are very weak, but they begin to arise. They will mature. Your attention touches the breath repeatedly, strikes at it, flicks away, and then begins to dwell upon it. You may feel lightness or floating. In the mind's eye, you may see shimmering forms or flickers of light. These are not visual phenomena in the eyes. These phenomena are totally in the mind. This is the realm of visions. If a deity or an entity is ever going to speak to you, this is where it will happen. Your normal thought patterns are being disrupted and deep imagery can come forth. Your visions may be beautiful or terrifying, or just strange kaleidoscopic sequences without meaning. Whatever they are, you just let them be there and bring the mind back to the breath. They are nothing special, just more discursive thought in disguise. Access concentration and the breath. As you continue to breathe, take note of the beginning, middle, and end of each inhalation, followed by a brief pause. Then note the beginning, middle, and end of each exhalation. This will assure that your mindfulness is strong as you approach jhana. If you do not pay careful, mindful attention, you will not be able to discern these separate stages in each breath. Each of these stages should be noticed at the place where you feel the touch of the breath. For that reason, it's very important to really find the place where the breath touches before jhana develops, and pay total mindful attention to that particular spot. By paying total attention, you can also notice the intrinsic nature of any phenomena as they arise. As your breath becomes subtler and subtler, the details begin to be unnoticeable. Finally, they disappear altogether, and the mind naturally stays only at the place where you noticed the touch of the breath. At that point, you begin to experience inhaling and exhaling as one single sensation. Don't follow the breath all the way into the lungs or out of the nose. Just stay right with that one sensation. The technique is like a person with a stiff neck pushing a baby on a swing. He cannot move his head, so he keeps it straight. When the swing comes in front of him, he taps it. The swing goes in the direction of his tap. When it comes back, he taps it again in the other direction. It moves in the other direction. Keep your attention on the breath spot. Do not follow the movement. Here is another analogy. Imagine an electronic sensor mounted on a wall. Every time someone approaches this sensor, a light comes on. As soon as the person has passed by, the light goes off. Similarly, every time you inhale or exhale, your mind notices the sensation of your inhaling or exhaling at the place where the breath touches. It simply registers the sensation without following the movement. Each time the mind wanders away from the breathing, you bring it back and keep it at the touch point. Repeat that process, as often as necessary, until the mind stays easily with the breath, as it flows in and out, passing the place where you established your attention. Then you will be able to see every tiny part of the breath. As you watch every part of your breath, it eventually becomes subtler and subtler until you cannot even notice its movement. All you notice is a strong but pleasant sensation at the place where you established your attention. First, the mind lets go of noticing the beginning, middle, and end of the breath. Then the mind focuses only on the inhaling and exhaling. Finally, even the subtle breath is replaced by just that strong sensation at the touch point. Breathing in and out, you experience the feeling of your breath, and as the breath changes, so does the feeling. You perceive the changing breath and the changing feeling. The thought, "This is the breath," this feeling, this perception, is called volitional formation. You intentionally, or volitionally, pay attention to the breath and its sensations. Your awareness or consciousness also changes as your breath, feeling, perception, and thought change. You realize that any state of consciousness also changes, whether it arises dependent upon sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or thought. While noticing the impermanence of breath, if the mind goes to a sound, notice the impermanence of the sound. Ignore your emotional or conceptual response to it. Just spot the impermanence. It comes and it goes. There is sound and then silence. If the mind swings to a feeling, notice the impermanence of that feeling. If your mind fastens on a perception, notice the impermanence. If the mind goes to your own attention, notice the impermanence of attention itself. In other words, you pay attention to the impermanence of everything you experience, even your own paying attention. When the mind becomes stable and does not go to anything other than the breath, you stay with the breath and notice the impermanence of that alone. When all the hindrances have subsided, joy arises. Develop that joy further and let go of your restlessness. Let the joy spread all through your mind and body. This is a right thought, too. Pin your attention to the simple sensation of breath at the nostrils. Stay with it as the breath naturally slows down and becomes fine and light. Allow thoughts of the breath to drop away. Stay with the simple sensation. Just let the process happen. Don't try to rush it. Approaching the first jhana. In access concentration, some interesting phenomena take place. People report dreamlike experiences and strange sensations of rising or floating or flowing. Some people report visions, but you should neither chase after these kinds of things, nor worry if they do or don't come. Your attention is coming back to the object of meditation again and again, touching it and swinging away, then hovering around it closer and closer. As the first jhana approaches, there is a stage when your attention sinks into the meditation object. You attain the first jhana with the beautiful, pleasant feeling arisen from having restrained hindrances and practicing metta. Your joy and happiness arise from being separated from all your physical worldly activities and from the hindrances that arise from those things. Now you can take a deep breath and relax. You can sit down quietly and enjoy the solitude and peace. Even though your concentration in the first jhana is not very deep, you enjoy the freedom from all the hustles and bustles of worldly life. Concentration and equanimity are there too, though these two factors are not prominent in the first jhana. There is also one-pointedness or unification of mind. In the first jhana, the joy and happiness you feel arise from seclusion and from the absence of the hindrances. Some teachers lay a lot of emphasis on the importance of using the sensation of delight as a tool to enter jhana. They recommend that, if you feel this delight only in one location, you should enlarge it. The whole body should be bathed and saturated with the feeling of bliss. This is a physical sensation, though not the kind that you are familiar with in ordinary life. It is similar to an extremely pleasurable sensory phenomenon, but not identical, far more subtle and gratifying. You can take control of this feeling and, to some extent, direct it. Once you have learned to concentrate, you can get to the delightful sensation any time you wish and stay in it as long as we wish. For instance, when doing the metta meditation described in Chapter 4, feelings in the center of the chest may occur. This is usually a very enjoyable feeling of bodily warmth. As soon as it comes, you should let go of the metta practice. Place your entire concentration on the sensation and expand it to suffuse the entire body. This physical feeling is similar to the more subtle feelings of joy and bliss in jhana. This feeling can be used as a bridge to allow you to slide naturally into jhana. When you have taken care of all the hindrances, the breath becomes very subtle. You may not even feel it. You may think it has stopped. There is nothing to worry about. It is still going on. When all the disturbing factors are gone, the mind returns naturally to the breath. When breath becomes subtle enough that it is unnoticeable, your mind focuses on the memory of this subtle breath as your object for gaining concentration. Watch for the sensation to change into a kind of vivid after-image. Stay with that. Keep at it. Be persistent. This memory may then be replaced with a little spark of light. If so, that becomes your focus of attention. This is a very important moment, the moment just before true concentration. This spark is your signal. You are about to enter jhana. At the beginning, there may be just a fleeting experience that can be very hard to identify. The first time, there may be just a strange, indefinable discontinuity that often evokes a startled, "What was that? What just happened?" Do not question such experiences. Any verbalized pondering will just lead you away from the goal. Just stay with your concentration practice. If some strange experience arises that you think might be jhana, pay no attention. When real jhana arises, you will know what it is. If all goes well, in the next moment after experiencing the spark, you gain genuine jhanic concentration and hold it. There are thoughts of generosity, friendliness, and compassion that you have already cultivated by overcoming greed, hatred, and cruelty. They are not really thoughts. You experience just the shadow of the generosity, friendliness, and compassion that are holding greed, hatred, and aversion at bay. The joy, happiness, and concentration in jhana have restrained drowsiness, restlessness, and doubt.